right choice by staying in this room. My talk is going to be awesome. I'm going to talk about getting users to use cryptocurrency as currency to buy real things, not just try to get more money. A question for everyone in this room: how many of you actually own cryptocurrency? Ooh, a lot of you. How many of you have actually used it to buy something tangible, like a t-shirt or a card? Okay, that's 4 people now. And I think that's a problem. I don't necessarily think that it's your fault if you haven't been able to do it. It's quite hard, and hopefully we can talk about how to make it easier and to increase adoption. Before that, hello, or hello, I'm Linda, and like I was introduced, I am a user-focused crypto evangelist that wants to make secure technologies easier to use because I think they'll have a good impact on the world. I work for Zcash, which I believe is the cryptocurrency of the future because it has great security properties. We actually use encryption, which is another crypto primitive in addition to just hash functions and the other crypto primitives that other coins use. We also don't use methods like mixing your money around or putting them in a pool to protect you. We actually encrypt your information and verify it with proofs. And I think that privacy is important to adoption because it allows you to spend your money how you want to without other people knowing about it. And in many countries, that could mean the difference between being persecuted and not. And I just don't think that you should be able to broadcast what you buy to everyone in the world. This is a discussion on the common points of frustrations for end users and potential solutions. My goal of this talk is to talk about what it is like to buy something with cryptocurrencies for the first time, common frustrations that stop the mainstream from adoption, and to talk about some other factors that are not generally considered that impact the end user. Before I begin my talk, I want to frame it by pointing out what it is about and what it is not about in the bigger context. Currently, not a lot of people are using cryptocurrencies as currency. And from what I can tell, the people who do are, first of all, angry at the current system and want to change it. Second, they love cryptocurrencies and know all about them. And thirdly, they actually are technologically fluent and able to use the technologies that currently exist. To reach the mainstream adoption, I think that we need to do a bunch of things. Currently, they don't know what's going on, how the current financial system works, maybe what it has done that is bad, what it has failed to do, or how it works globally, or rather does not work globally. They don't have any incentive to use cryptocurrencies, and I think that relying on a political agenda like overthrow the government, which I'm all for, doesn't necessarily scale, and maybe having it the easiest thing to use, easier than Visa, or it being the cheapest option is something that is reliable. Thirdly, clients are not easy to use at the moment, and you can think of a couple people that can barely use Google, so we need to try to get them to use crypto wallets. I think that when I talk about trying to get everyone to use cryptocurrencies as currency, we need to remember that user education is a part of it, user incentivization is a part of it, but also good user design is a part of it. And my talk is about that one. I am not saying that this is the most important part, but this happens to be my expertise, so I'm talking about this part. I am going to talk about 3 stopping points, and that is a term formally used in user research that a user reaches when they are unable to complete the task or do not want to complete the task. That informally means, oh, that didn't work out. But that informally means a point where you try something over and over and it doesn't work and you just go, ugh, but more formalized. And I think that these are important to acknowledge, and I want to talk about them with you so you can help me solve them. I think that's exciting. And this is based on my personal experience as a user researcher, but also from my personal experience trying to buy things with cryptocurrency and also interviewing many people. The first thing that you have to do to use cryptocurrencies as a currency is to set up a wallet. And if you want to do it correctly, you should probably back up your wallet. And that's really hard. I don't think that people realize how hard it is. I have a master's degree in computer science, but it's sometimes hard for me. And it's also intimidating to think that every time you lose your phone, flush it down the toilet, or leave it at a restaurant, you lose all of your money unless you did it correctly. I think that people underestimate the likelihood that they did not back it up correctly, maybe wrote down one of those words wrong, lost the sheet of paper, or can't find that sheet of paper. The likelihood of someone hacking into your phone and stealing all your money is much, much less than that. I think that it is great that we are putting people in charge of their own money, but it is currently a mental block because people are not used to doing so. It is really intimidating, and although I think the bag of words backup method is much, much, much more superior than trying to get your grandma to store an encrypted key correctly somewhere, I think that we can do better, and we can help people who don't necessarily want to control or be in charge of all of their money, but want to use cryptocurrencies by building solutions that take some of the responsibility off their hands. And maybe we can automatically send them a new backup phrase every month, securely in a decentralized way or something like that, not relying on a central database to hold all your passwords, but also not relying the end user to back it up correctly. I think there's a wide spectrum in between, and it is unexplored. I don't necessarily have a great solution to this, but I think that if we solve this, then more people will be willing to start using cryptocurrencies. Once you have set your wallet up properly and you are ready to go, and want to send money to someone, you see stuff like this. And I think that addresses are cool from a technical perspective, but most people find them to be no good. It's hard to read, makes you feel like you don't know what's going on, but more formally, as a researcher, they feel that way because it is very hard or near impossible for a human to associate this and map it to a particular person, authenticate or verify. And I think that we don't have a protocol to map an address to a name, so you can't really tell that that is my address unless I tell you. And we are making people do a social protocol to find addresses instead of using something like DNS that maps website names to IP addresses. I feel like we're in an age where to go to a website, you need to remember a bunch of numbers and type them in. I think that it's not going to stay like this forever, but it is somewhat difficult. And not only is it difficult because they feel like, oh, I need to do all this work myself, it's also socially awkward. If I wanted to pay Sebastien back for dinner or something like that, I have to stop him and ask, hey, what's your address in person? And we need to do this now because I want to actually see that it's your address, and you need to actually see my address because you don't know that's me. And how many of you have stopped doing something because it was awkward? I do that all the time. I think that, sure, copy and pasting this is technically easy, but when you look at the surroundings and the context in which this happens, I think that it being socially awkward and it not being easy and having people do the work that could be automatic is key. The third thing I would like to talk about, let's say that I set up my wallet and I found the address of Sebastien and I'm finally going to send him some money. And I am ready to go. I think this is an example user face of a wallet. I put the fee amount into, I put the, amount I want to send into the amount field and the address in the address field. It's not too bad, right? But I'm confused, and this actually happened to me when I was first trying to send Zcash to someone. And I asked someone, hey, is that fee included in my amount or added on top? So if I send you one Zcash, is 1.0001 Zcash debited from my account, or do I end up sending you 0.999? The fantastic answer is that it depends. And also, another fantastic answer is that some wallets let you choose, and it is configured by default in a mysterious way. Another thing that is exciting about this is that sometimes you pay the fee, and sometimes the merchant can choose to front the fee. So I actually don't know if I'm actually paying the fee. And the answer to that is that it works both ways, and it's going to stay there. There are APIs that do this, and I think it's actually okay because I don't like paying fees, and if someone said, hey, free shipping, or hey, no fee. I'm all about it. But do you see anything in the user interface that indicates anything like that? No. I think that there is no standard fee amount either. It varies from wallet to wallet. You don't know if it's added on top or not, and you don't know if you're paying it. I think that is a simple solution to this. You just tell people what's going on. Or maybe we will agree on a standard someday. But I think that small things like this can really trip people up. I didn't send a payment to purse.io. My first purchase was a car charger because I don't know what I do with my phone chargers. I give them out freely, leave them everywhere. And it's not like I was paying back a friend. I was sending payment to a merchant, and if I send the incorrect amount, I don't know what the protocol is. There's no return address really, so if you pay someone $1 less, I don't know what they do. I thought they just wouldn't give me my charger. So, another thing I would like to point out is that we need more advanced features for wallets. Some wallets have some advanced features, some don't. I'm going to name some from modern banking that I think exist because people want them. One, different accounts. Most wallets allow you to have one Zcash wallet, one Bitcoin wallet, and so it goes. It's like if you went into a bank and they said, yup, you get an account. You can't separate it into savings, checkings, house, emergency. And I think that it requires people to keep a lot of skate in their head. You also can't send payments on a reoccurring basis, which I think is unfortunate because so much of the modern economy is based on subscription, and things like bills or less important things like Netflix, you have to remember to pay them every time. And if you automate things for people, people will use it. And I think that this isn't necessarily not in existence because we can't do it technically, but maybe there is not a demand for it. Maybe companies don't accept it. But I say we build it. And if everyone can do it, then maybe companies will accept it. I think that there are many more things that we can do that I probably missed, but those two things are the ones that come to mind. So I'm here to say, let's build better so that people can use cryptocurrencies as currency without fear of losing all of their money, the social awkwardness of having to perform a protocol to get someone's address, or the frustration of fee madness or manually organizing every single transaction. I think that building features that make it easy to use cryptocurrencies as currency will lead the way to its adoption. I don't think that waiting for everyone to use it and only building it after demand will work. I hope someone in this room works on a UI somewhere and now they're really jazzed about it. That's usually where the conversation ends, but before I end my talk, I want to talk about some other people who aren't accounted for in this previous conversation. And I am glad that Mingxi, our previous speaker in this room, talked about emerging markets and people outside of the US and Europe, because I think those are the people that can benefit most from cryptocurrencies. The first thing we need to realize when developing applications and platforms is that there are many who only have a mobile phone as their device. People in China, even if they're well off, they don't want to buy a desktop computer because since mobile was first, most of their applications and everyone uses mobile for everything. There are other countries where people cannot afford anything but a mobile device as well. And if you do not build for them, it is hard for them to adopt this new technology. A second thing to keep in mind is that you need to build for their infrastructure and technology. You don't want your app to be that slow thing that crashes every time and drains all of their battery. I think that looking at the differences in infrastructure should be the starting place for how often you make network calls or how much you cache locally on your phone and things like that, which I think is a part of user experience. And lastly, I would like to remind people that there are quote-unquote low rights countries in the world that criminalize anything encrypted, criminalize use of cryptocurrency, and maybe they have done this with other things. Post facto make something illegal. So I have cryptocurrency now, and in 5 years, they decide it was illegal and punish me for something I did 5 years ago. And also, in line with that, I think that there is room to differentiate yourself by building defensive, secure applications. So I talked about having good, secure backups. That is generally a thing you want, but not really if you're in Venezuela. If you wipe your phone because some authority is on your tail about using crypto and they can just restore it, that's pretty bad. And there is usually a trade-off between what is called forward secrecy and recoverability. And I think that most applications right now lean towards recoverability, but there are other applications that maybe should be more defensive. And another plug for Zcash, I think that's why it's so important to have shielded transactions and for your transactions to be private as well. Not necessarily because we should, although I think that is true, but it is actually a safety concern for some people. Building for these other people with mobile phones, slow internet, and dangerous political situations doesn't necessarily make business sense, but I think it's important to talk about, and if you are fighting for everyone to use cryptocurrencies, you shouldn't leave them out. I hope you learned something from this talk. I want to give 3 takeaways before I take some questions. First, I want to emphasize, I think that good user experience is key. I hope that through my examples of being scared to back up your wallet, having addresses being awkward and meaningless, and having confusing manual transactions are somewhat of a problem and do stop some people from using crypto as currency. Secondly, I think that there is a lot of work to do. I think that we've done a great job with how much time we have had, and things are moving really, really, really fast. And That's exciting, but there is still a lot of work to do. And lastly, I would like to encourage you to build for everyone. That means building for other cultures, other platforms, other infrastructures, and other political environments. And I would just like to say that maybe my talk was a little complaining. I am talking about the common issues after all, but I'd like to say that I'm actually really, really excited about cryptocurrencies. I think they will change the world, and it can't ever unexist, and no one can stop this from happening. We don't necessarily need to rely on corrupt governments or huge corporations to handle our money, and we are moving towards a more globalized society. And I think that's great. That's why I am in the space that I am in, and I hope that you continue to work in this space or are inspired to work a little bit more in this space. Thank you. There is technically 15 minutes left between me and lunch. I reserved some time to talk about questions, but being the thing between you guys and tacos is not necessarily the best position. But if you have any questions, I'd love to discuss them now, or you can go find me eating tacos.